minimum deal, not losing anything if you're Atlanta. Just kind of wait and see what happens type of deal. But it's going to definitely be interesting. Now, the big topic we're going to talk about, a lot of news outlets are going to be talking about this as well. Kevin Durant, CJ McCollum, they get into a little quote-unquote feud on Twitter. Now, CJ McCollum, he said it wasn't a feud. A lot of people are going to take it as some shots being thrown. Now, on CJ McCollum's podcast, Pull Up, he had Kevin Durant on, and he was explaining how he was a little heated and he was hot when he found out that the Golden State Warriors were going to be signing DeMarcus Cousins. He felt like essentially a lot of these great players going to the same team could be a soft move. But while explaining that, Kevin Durant said, why are you mad about these things? Because he was saying he was upset when he signed with the Warriors. He was also upset when Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors. He said, why are you upset with these things? And McCollum had a great response. He said, dude, I'm in the league. I play you guys every single year, multiple times per year. And you guys are essentially stacking everybody out there. So it was definitely interesting to see Kevin Durant on the podcast, but then Kevin Durant just asking, like, why are you upset? As if he hasn't heard any of the criticism from the media over the years, or like this is the first time a player has admitted to him that he didn't like him signing with the Golden State Warriors, or the fact that he didn't like him signing with the DeMarcus Cousins signing with the Golden State Warriors. Now, we know CJ McCollum called DeMarcus Cousins up after he heard he was signing with the Warriors, and he pleaded him to try to change his mind. He did not want this to actually happen. However, it didn't happen. Eventually, he's still going to sign with them anyway. So after the podcast went out, a lot of people will start talking about it because Kevin Durant, he laughed it off. He said, dude, you guys aren't winning a championship anyway. CJ McCollum, he also feels he has a team that could at least compete. So, of course, you could tell maybe it wasn't quite right there. It was definitely a little awkward. But at the same time, there is that little feud that's in there. That could just be the competitive gene between both of these guys. CJ McCollum, he has pride. Yes, the Portland Trail Blazers, many people don't have them winning championship. Many people don't have them as one of the best teams in the Western Conference. We know they're a very, very good and talented team. But when we're ranking our top 3 teams, most people aren't going to put the Portland Trail Blazers up there, especially with the current roster, without adding a lot of depth and a lot of help to that front court. But CJ McCollum, he still has confidence in his team. And that's what you're supposed to do when you are a player. So he feels you can't compete, but the other teams, they keep getting bigger. Now, after the podcast was out, after people started talking about Kevin Durant laughing at the Blazers' chances of winning a championship, he took to Twitter. Now, this is CJ McCollum. He was answering another guy or Barstool Big Cat, who said, hey, CJ McCollum, permission to start using the B word again for KD. And this is what CJ McCollum responded with. He said, I still think the B word is harsh and shouldn't be used. He know that decision was soft, but I respect it. It's like getting jumped with your brothers by a gang. You should have beat them, then joining the gang that jumped you and your brothers 2 months later and forgetting about your bros. And then 30 minutes later, of course, Kevin Durant, he had his clapback, he had his response, and this is what he said. He said, so I would just get into a gang fight, lose, plot on my brother for 2 months in our home, and then go get the gang we lost to and beat him up? You think that low of me, CJ? I just did your effing podcast. Snakes in the grass, boy, I tell you. So Kevin Durant clearly didn't appreciate what CJ McCollum had to say on Twitter. And that's just when people start feeling the beef is coming on. We don't know exactly what's going on. CJ McCollum, he didn't respond right away. But, of course, Kevin Durant did. And he responded to Nate Jones in particular, who said, all KD's response to criticism should be, I'm happy. That's all that matters. Nothing more. Keep it simple. 2 years later, and folks still analyzing it. Folks going to disagree and not ever like the decision no matter what. So it's pointless to say anything anymore. And what Nate Jones says is absolutely true. In my opinion, people are never really going to respect what Kevin Durant did. And Kevin Durant really needs to accept this at this point, that nobody's going to appreciate what he did. Really, the only chance you could having of erasing somewhat what you did would be to leave Golden State and get your own team and take them to the promised land. But regardless of what Kevin Durant had to say back to Nate Jones. So they keep talking, but I have to shut up. Sounds fishy to me. But you know what? I'm not even allowed to be on here since I'm in the NBA. Let me fall back. My bad. So that was Kevin Durant response. He still went on to talk to a couple more people on Twitter as well. He said a lot of stuff. He said, okay, last tweet. So me talking about my life is sensitive, and you talking about my life is with 4 question marks. So Kevin Durant clearly in his feelings once again. At the same time, he has to understand this is always going to come back. This is a part of his legacy now, and he decided to make this move. And when you make that move, you know Kevin Durant has his own PR people. He has his own agents. He has his own people who should have been advising him that you can make this move, but you know the backlash that's going to come from it. I'm all for players having the freedom to go wherever you want to. But you also got to know there's going to be repercussions and consequences to the actions that you do. And perception is absolutely crazy, especially in the day with social media. Your perception is absolutely huge. How people think about you and what people say about you is going to dictate what they tweet about you on Twitter. People are always bolder on Twitter anyway, so you know people are already not going to like it. When LeBron James did it, yes, he took a huge backlash as well, but then Twitter wasn't as advanced. Social media also wasn't as advanced as it is now. So you know the memes are going to be made of you. You know people are going to automatically talk trash about you every single time you look on social media. So that is the consequence that he is paying for making that decision to go to Golden State. When he made it, you should be, hey, I am happy. I just want to win a ring. And as long as you know that, you should be okay. But you know you're not going to have a lot of respect from a lot of people. And now he's seeing that players also aren't feeling him the same way. So what does CJ McCollum say? He also eventually came back later that night. He said, there is no feud, y'all. Gotta chill. It was simply an analogy. I'm done speaking on KD and the Warriors because it's childish of me to do so and soft. It will be taken out of context. I've always said what I feel, but we all know I've never been a snake. Back to the grind. And then he posted 2 pictures, of course, of him working out and getting ready for the season. So a lot of things happened on Twitter about this podcast, essentially, and about how they feel towards each other. I don't think CJ McCollum really said anything wrong. I think he said a lot of things that people are really thinking. And if you are a player in the league and Kevin Durant decides to go to the Golden State Warriors, who are already viewed as, if not the best, one of the best teams in the NBA, but that year they're viewed as the best team. So you add Kevin Durant, who's also viewed as a top 3, maybe top 4 player in the NBA. You're not going to join up with them. You're a player. You're also going to feel some type of way. Of course, many of them aren't going to express it vocally because you still have PR you have to worry about, and you still have things you also got to worry about besides, just Kevin Durant's feelings. But, of course, a lot of the fans, they're extremely vocal about it. They will continue to be vocal about it. Kevin Durant, he needs to just figure out this is never going to go away unless he takes it upon himself to change the narrative and change how people view him. But just going on Twitter, clapping back at people, that's not going to get the job done. Now, I'm going on to another story, but staying on Kevin Durant. He was then asked about later during the interview how he felt about LeBron James joining the Lakers.